back to Come Chat with Sima, and in this edition I am sitting with the lovely, beautiful do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Amenti The Awakener. Some people know me as Amenti The Oracle, and I'm a spiritual healer, spiritual teacher, holistic health and wellness expert. I'm also passionate about mental health, spiritual health, helping our people to develop true ancestral and spiritual connections, and also helping our women to understand their wisdom, their wealth and their worth.
And she done it all for me, because I would have been like, she would have, in my mind, you'd have said, I'm a mentee, and I'd be like, so who are you? What do you do?
It never goes to plan like that.
No, thank you. So you're all of so many beautiful, I don't know, what's the right word to say? Give me a word.
Mix up. No, do you know what it is? I feel like, for me, one of my things is around helping people to bring balance to all of those areas of your life. The reason why I use the word holistic therapist is because it's about mental, spiritual, emotional, physical health, and all of those different areas of our life need to be balanced in order for us to be vibrating at our highest frequency and living out our purpose. So
100%.
it's interesting because most of the time when people ask me to describe what I do, I cannot because it's too much.
Too much.
And that's how our ancestors were, though. You know what I mean? Just because you're the mother doesn't mean you couldn't fix things and couldn't be the engineer and you wasn't the healer and the this and the that. Do you know what I mean? And I really feel like life is what qualifies us for our experiences, more than the qualifications that we go for, the careers or the vocations that we think that we're supposed to go for. Like, really it's our life experiences that qualify us for what it is that we're here to do.
100%.
So for me, that's what I look at it as, just a holistic perspective on life and helping people to find balance and a deeper connection with spirit and self.
Your journey, how did the formation, how did Amenti become? Like, when did your journey start? Do you remember?
I do.
Take us there.
I do. I mean, I'll try and keep it as condensed as possible, because as long as I'm here in age is how long it will take me to really fully explain the story. But the first thing that I can say is that I was born awake. And when I say that to people, you know, you get mixed responses. Some people are like, oh my God, wow. And other people are like, what? So does that mean that you know everything? It really doesn't. Because ultimately we're all here to experience what we have designed with the source to experience. So whether somebody comes in fully awake and fully knowing, or somebody comes in completely oblivious to who it is they are and what it is that they're here for, it doesn't change the nature of the journey. So for me, my earliest memories are literally of seeing myself as light in my mum's womb, and these tall, for me they're not angelic, it's just tall and like light forms standing over my mother's womb. And I remember being born, and I remember that when I was born at first I didn't cry. And these are memories that I've had that come to me in my dreams and things like that. And I even went and asked my mum, I was like, you know, when I was born, did I cry straight away? And she was like, no. You know, at first I was worried, and helped me to understand the nature of who it is that I am and my soul. So those are the earliest memories. I've always had a deep connection to my ancestors, and that's not something that I was consciously aware of. There would be things that I'd be going through and I would hear bits of information. My connection with God was like literally like your imaginary friend walking this road with you. Like, my connection with God was more real than my connection with my mother or other people, because the Creator would tell me things about certain people and tell me about what it was that I was here to do. And so I was very much just connected to God and wondering, what am I doing here? When do I go home? You know, I used to stare out of the window and stare into the sun, because I knew that that was home, to the point where I used to have to go to the hospital because my retinas, I couldn't see for days at a time sometimes. Literally, because I'd be staring there wanting to go back home. So there was an understanding that I was here on a mission, an understanding of who my parents were and what I was here to experience, but also this very deep, intimate connection with the Creator. And I searched throughout every religion I could find looking for that, and I could never find it anywhere. And that's what helped me to really understand that I was part of helping people to really understand what it is to have a relationship with God. It's not, I mean, religion gives you the framework and the values and the principles, but really it's a very intimate connection that we have with the source, with our ancestors, because it's part of who we are.
Yeah.
And we go through this process of separation in order to observe. So we are the source, but the source has separated itself and brought itself into form so it could basically experience itself to the fullness. And so we are the object, or the subject, and we are the observer. And so I constantly went through that process of being the observer, sitting with God and saying, okay, this is what's going to happen, and this is why it's going to happen, and then becoming the subject, having to go through it. And I no longer term it the subject, I call it the experiencer, because when we look at ourselves as the subject, we feel as if we're going through a series of events where the control is outside of ourselves, and it's not. We divinely design everything that we go through, and so then we have to go through it in order to learn the lessons and evolve and grow and fulfill some of what it is that we've come here to learn. So that was my innate connection with the Creator. And like I was discussing
so when you first, I don't know, when it first came to you, like, this is who I am, how old was you?
I would say, to consciously think of it like that, I was about 6.
Wow.
Which is where my great grandmother came in as a guide for me. And that's when I understood that this wasn't just something in my head, because you can feel like you're just living in a certain alternative reality, right? And that's how it felt. But it was when I was 6 that things started to get a bit more serious, because I'd never met my great grandmother before. She died before I came here, and I remember being in my grand's house one night with all my cousins, and I had a dream about being in water, and this is one of the recurrent dreams, and this is what kind of helps you. Your dreams are the gateway into the subconscious. So within your dreams you get access to the realms in which you've created this story that you're living. And I would always have dreams of myself being underwater, like seeing the sun and reaching for the sun, but I'm being drawn into the water. And water is the gateway between realms. So when you're born into this particular life, you come through water. When we talk about our ancient ancestors like the Nomos and those people, they came through water. So water is literally the bridge between the two realms. And I had one of those dreams that night, and I woke up and I looked directly at her picture for some reason, and she winked at me, and the feeling that I got when she winked at me was like she was letting me know that was real, you know. And now it's time, sort of thing. And it freaked me out at first, and then I would ask questions like, who is that a woman? Do you know what I mean? And then she would come to me in my dreams, and she was the one that told me that in our family we had healers, we had women with spiritual power, and that a lot of them were suffering right now because no one had chosen to take on the mantle in our family. And I grew up in a family where my mother is one of 6 girls, so my gran never had any sons, none. And I could see patterns of behavior in them, like they all ended up with womb trauma. They were all weren't raised with my gran either. They were sent to Trinidad and raised with my great grandmother. So even my mum, she had certain aspects, but because of the things that she went through, she shut it down, and that was also because of her mum shutting it down. And you'll find in our culture that happens quite a lot because of the negative connotations and the things that we've done when we've been in our lower self and used our spiritual power. It's caused generational curses, and for me, generational curses are just patterns of behavior that are toxic, that need to be that are offering us a lesson, but also somebody will choose to come in and clear that stuff up. And the only way you can clear it is by going through it. So if the generational karma or curse is that, you know, there was supposed to be a woman in the family who was meant to be a healer and they chose not to, you'll find that everyone in the family will become sick. Until somebody comes and heals themselves of the sickness. My cause is raising. We give thanks to Granny Melanie. And that's how healers are born. Healers are born through tragedy. They're born through travesty, because that's how they gain that power and that clarity, how to help other people. So when she came in, things kind of started to change, because it wasn't just me and God now, it was also me, God, and my gran. And she was funny as hell as well. And like I'd be talking to people and she'd tell me stuff about them, and this, bearing in mind I'm like 6 or 8, very confident because I know God in it, so everything else is just a movie to me. And so I would just say things like, oh, did you know such and such, oh, did you know you got this problem? And because it was new to me. And people, you know our people. You know our people.
Talk about
exactly. Thank you. I'd have my lips shutting doors and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of my journey, because one of the main things that we don't realize, well, you know, to be a healer is to be a confidant. Sometimes there's things that you hear from spirit, that things that you hear from source that you're not meant to say. You know, one of the things that people what's missing from this day and age is back in the day we used to have mystery schools, and in those mystery schools we would learn certain things. So as much as you'll learn the spirituality and you'll learn, you know, certain tools and go through certain initiations, one of the most important things was to know and to be silent. That doesn't mean that you hide things. You understand that everything has a divine balance and order, and not everything people need to know because that's part of their journey, right? So in a way I was learning and going through it as I was growing, but it also created a part of me that became like dressed back, you know what I mean? I didn't really engage with people because people started to feel like, you know, she's not right. How come she knows all of this stuff? And actually she can see too much, so let me just keep back, do you know what I mean? And then one of the main challenges that came up was when I was 8, and I knew, and God showed me what was going to happen to me and why it was going to happen. And again, this is why I say that when you're awake, you were born awake, it doesn't make it any easier, because just imagine, you know, writing in this story that you're going to go through this, whether you're a murderer, whether you're whatever, and you know that you now have to go through this. I suppose that's what they say Jesus felt like when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane and he was like, actually, nah, some can't do this. Do you know what I mean? Which are all stories and parables to me. But yeah, I knew that I was going to go through that abuse, and I knew that it was part of what needed to be healed for my lineage. So to go through that and then to now know that I have to speak up was difficult for me. And if I didn't have that confidence, and if I didn't have that support, and I didn't have that understanding that this was for a greater purpose, I probably wouldn't have been able to do what I needed to do, you know. And that was part of breaking a curse, because in our family and in our communities, as we know, sexual abuse is not something that's talked about, and we have generations, a legacy of silence. And even one of the poems in my book, one of the alchemical healing poems in my book, 12 Seeds to Awaken Your Spirit, the first poem that I wrote in that book was called The Keys to the Legacy. And it was literally me going through the process of seeing myself going through that, but then seeing all of my ancestors who had went through it behind me, and me saying, I'm not here to inherit that legacy. No way, you know. And again, as I said, we are part of the change, so we choose to come into certain families and bloodlines in order to bring to the fore what has been hidden, you know. And in a way that kind of ties in with 2020. It's the same kind of thing, clear vision, right?
So let me ask you a question. If I feel that, I don't know, if I how can I word it? So if I feel that there's a vibration within my family that needs healing, how do I, but I don't know what it is, how's one to seek that?
Look within yourself.
Right.
It all starts with yourself. Like even your ancestors, everything is in your DNA and in your blood. So let's say that you've grown up in a family where you feel you know, the mothers aren't able to have close, intimate relationships with their children. Everybody's kind of distant. You got to look at how has that affected you, and where has it shown up? How has that affected your behavior? And you'll usually find that there's a part in you that, as much as you've gone through that, it has resistance. It's like, nah, I didn't enjoy I didn't enjoy that, or she used to make me feel small and whatever. So it comes from our journey, and then just being willing to speak up sometimes, and it doesn't even always have to be directly to the person at the time. When we do our own healing, we bring awareness to the things that have been suppressed throughout the family lineage. And you could grow up, let's say, with your sisters. Like I got 3 sisters, 2 sisters and 1 brother. My experience was completely different to all of them, even though we grew up in exactly the same house. So everyone's got a different purpose, and everyone's going to be affected by the same set of events differently. So you've always got to look at your experience, and if you feel it, like they say, who feels it knows it. So if you feel it, then it's part of your purpose to be a part of that change. And sometimes we want to change other people, but without realizing that we've got to change ourselves, because we are the product of their you know what I mean, their lack or whatever it might be. So yeah, it always starts within, because you came to be a part of that change. So if you're affected by it, if you can see it, then it's usually for you to transmute it, to transform it.
Jeez! Who would have thought? Yeah, we would have been rolling like that. You just went in. You gave us so much insight. In one of your posts that I read on Instagram or Facebook, it said that when you were 17, you healed yourself of infertility and PCOS. Could you talk me through that?
Yeah, I mean, as we know in our community, there's a lot of womb issues. And growing up in a family where there were 6 women, as I said, I saw that those issues affect the women in my family. My mum was diagnosed with fibroids at 25 and started to have a hysterectomy at 26. So I saw her go through that whole process of being ill, being unwell, you know, having blood clots and all of that kind of stuff. So that developed a passion in me for gynecology. I just wanted, so I studied everything as a child to do with gynecology. And obviously obstetrics as well, and my passion was to be a gynecologist. So at the age of 16 I went and talked my way into a job at Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital in the gynecology department as a clinic clerk, but I also used to shadow the surgeons and shadow them in the colposcopy unit, and also they were doing a thing where they were first starting to understand about female genital mutilation, so I was also involved in the study of that. And whilst working there, I used to have regular tests, and I went on the Depo-Provera injection once, and I never saw my cycle for a whole year. And so when I went to see the surgeon, when we went to see the doctor, we did a few tests, and he said to me that we don't know why, but...
So hold on, you had the injection and you never saw your cycle for how long?
A whole year.
That's mad.
It is mad. It is mad.
You know when you had to just register, like, what did you just say?
Yeah, for a whole year. For a whole year. And I'd always been very regular. Like, I could feel when I was ovulating. I was that connected to myself. And so, he said to me, we're going to have to do some tests. And then the test came back and said that I was infertile and that I had polycystic ovaries. And the way that these eggs had grown over my ovaries, it literally would look like a big cluster. So it was so encased. And so he had said to me, wow, you know, you're probably going to have IVF if you want to have children, or there's hormones and stuff that you can take. And I was like 17 hearing this. I was like, what? But I knew that it was my test. Like, he was saying to me that there's not much we can do about this. We use drugs. And he's saying, you want to be a gynecologist? Well, this is some of the things that especially women from your community go through. And I was just like, no. And so I started to investigate the relationship between our emotional well-being, our emotional needs, and our womb. I started to change my diet. I was already kind of lactose intolerant, but I had a negative relationship with food because I was a gymnast. I was so into my body, and this was my temple. But growing up in a West Indian family where you eat what you're told to eat, and one day they want to put pork belly in front of you, and you're just like, what is this? What is this? Like, I really couldn't. So I had bulimia when I was younger as well because of that. So I went through a process of really studying how the body uses food for healing, not just food for eating. So I started to take out all of the mucus from my system. I started to eat more fruits and vegetables. I also started to work on myself with regards to my abuse, because that was the main issue. When you look at the nature of an illness, you can understand what it's telling you about yourself. So polycystic ovaries is when the ovaries aren't able to come out of the the ovum, the eggs aren't able to come out of the ovary, and then they basically calcify on themselves. So that's what happens when you suppress your emotions and you hide, right? And it starts to calcify on itself. You become this kind of person, but it's like you can't change that because you're in a way protecting yourself. So that was directly linked to my abuse and my suppression of the abuse. And so as I started to work on that, I also went for counselling, but the counsellor didn't really understand what I was trying to do for myself. I wasn't looking for someone to blame. I was actually trying to unpack why it was that I went through this and what was the healing from it. So I dedicated myself for the next 2 years just working on clearing my emotional energy, shifting my food, talking to my body, you know. And I started to, my gran gave me a whole load of herbs to start using, because that was my entry into plant medicines and the power of plant medicines, learning how to communicate and speak to the herbs as well, so that they do what they need to do. And these are what our matriarchs and our ancestral mothers, they knew this stuff down pat, but we have to be reintroduced to it.
It's I was never taught about anything to do with plant medicine. Not the way I'm learning it now. It's just so unreal. It's amazing.
Definitely.
It's amazing.
You see,
I'm enjoying it as well. Trust me.
Yeah, you know, I said as well today, like, if you want to study yourself, study nature. Nature has 100%, everything in
100%. It. This year as well, 2020 for me has been beautiful, because I have found a new Sima. Like, literally, like, people say, why do you call yourself Sima Love? Because literally that is what I have found. And like you said, well, for me, it was like I was taken out of 2 jobs, put into another one, bumped into a good friend who has an allotment, and literally every Sunday I used to go to school, come to the allotment and learn. And to the point where I've got a picture, and I say it to people, not a lot of people believe me, and I feel like my skin started to look like the soil.
Wow.
I was just in my element. I just felt, it was just, I was calm. Anything that was going on did not affect my peace. Do you know what I mean? But also just understanding life, like what you're saying, and the process of what we've experienced in 2020. I think that's where my calm came from. I could understand it in a new light. So yeah, man, definitely spend time in nature. Nature teaches you what you need to know.
Facts.
Trust me.
Facts. And it's just been I think this year has also been about helping people to come in alignment with their divine truth, you know?
Yeah.
Sima Love is who you are at your core.
So by doing all of your changing of your mindset, eating differently, learning yourself on a new level, talking to your body, what happened after that?
I had my first child when I was 19.
Wow.
Then I started to have them every 2 years. It's like spirit was proving a point to me.
Wow.
Yes. And I've never had any gynecological problems. You know, I was one of the first people to bring out yoni steaming in the UK. I was having yoni steam parties at my house from 2010.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I think that's why I love Facebook memories, because even today I posted up one from 2010. But because of the cultural energy that I have, it's not just sit down on a but I literally was bringing back that communal energy of women coming together. I made everyone have them, you know, the house dresses. We would do the
So
herbs
this isn't
together.
our queendom. This isn't our queendom. We need another dinner date party. Yoni, maybe
steam parties. That's what I
Yoni
used to do.
steam party.
Yeah.
Host Amenti The Awakener, ladies.
I'm down. Serious. And I even developed a business doing that. Like I used to create goddess gathering parties. So go into people's houses and you can choose a different themed party. So you know you got Anne Summers, which is all about destroying up yourself. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
This is the side of nurturing yourself. So I would have yoni steam parties. We'll be doing yoni egg parties. So I would also show the women how to use the yoni eggs. We would also do, you know, if women had any problems, fibroids, endometriosis, I would teach them the herbs to use. And it's all about celebrating our sisterhood, our womanhood, getting reconnected with nature and the herbs and healing ourselves. And what we've missed in this time is that in a community, when women are together, they're going through the similar cycles. We're here to help each other to make it easier.
100%,
you know, and we are a strong force when we're together, which is why there's so much around keeping us apart. You know, and that has ill affected our bodies. That same energy that we've had towards each other has ended up corrupting our bodies. And so we're having to come together in our brokenness to help each other to heal. And I feel like that's a beautiful thing, because we really don't know how powerful women are. It says that the nation can only rise as far as their women, and it's kind of said but left into the background, but we are the nurturers, we are the caregivers, we are the life givers. And it's not to say that we don't have to learn to work in harmony with our kings, we do, but within us is the mother, the wife, the grandmother.
Yes.
You understand what I mean? The matriarch. And so we have to start developing a healthier relationship with ourselves, and the healing is the gateway, it is the key. Because when you can understand your own nature, the nature of God in you, then you can help to nurture somebody else's God, you know, and that's what it's really about. So we're seeing this awakening and resurgence in us, especially as black women. We're having to learn to be there for each other and support each other, and even if it's only 5 of us, that's enough, right? Yeah. Because that's really what's going to change our community and change the world, and that's part of what my work is focused on. This year. Number 1, supporting people who are helping others. So the healers, the coaches, the therapists. I'm here to help you to do your work so that you can help others and train. Just because that's you know, the background that I had. With my priestess work, because I've been initiated in Uganda, I've also went for initiation in Jamaica, which is really just me reclaiming back these ancient practices, but without the lower self aspect. I'm not going to teach people how to go and do this to this person or do that to that person, because when you understand the laws of the universe, you realize everything in your life is teaching you, and whatever you put out comes back for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it's about teaching in a way of sovereignty, so that we can reclaim our power back, but do it from a place of understanding that we are God and gods don't act in a certain way. But it's also about helping our women to rediscover their wealth, their wisdom and their worth, because we cannot be the queens that we say that we are if we don't value ourselves and each other, if we don't have any values and standards. You know, that's one of the things that I did for myself a couple of weeks ago. We have these expectations of others, even down to our men, but we don't actually have good expectations of ourselves. So I asked myself, what do I value as a woman, as a purpose, and what are my standards? Because when you have standards, other people can align with those standards and even develop their own, you know. And so we have to be willing to be the example to ourselves, and then other people will follow. And that's why I don't look at myself as someone who's here to fix other people. What qualifies me to do my job is me constantly being on the path of my own inner transformation. And so I've had issues, you know, not issues, but I've had different people in the community and different things that go on. But for me, it's not about that. Everything is about my growth and development. So even if I'm making a mistake along the way, that's helping me, and it's also helping the person who's smart enough to watch my mistakes and learn from them, you know.
Definitely. So, what would you advise to not just women, to everybody who would be watching this? You know, what advice would you give if they are in search of what their purpose is?
Your purpose is born in you. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever it is that you have gone through, is what awakens you to your purpose. Most people are always looking for their purpose outside of themselves, but your purpose is found when you look within. Who are you? What do you enjoy doing? What have you overcome? What gift do you have to give to the world? What can you share? How do you make things easier for other people? What inspires you? It all comes from within. And until you're willing to do that work and actually ask, who am I? One of the posts I put up today was I broke down the word question. Quest, I, on. Quest is a journey. I, me, on, moving. So I'm on a quest to find out more. And so the best way to know thyself, the most important initiation, is to start asking, who am I? Why am I here? And that starts the journey on the pathway to knowing, right? And that's the best thing I can say. A lot of people are looking towards African spirituality at this moment, and I do celebrate it, but at the same time, all of it comes from within. When we're looking at the Orishas, when we're looking at the Luas, we're all aspects of nature, the nature of God in man. Right? So we have to understand the nature of God in man. We're not praying to something outside of ourselves. We're acknowledging the God in man. Do you understand what I mean? And my pause is raising, so we give thanks to the ancestors. And that's how we reclaim our power, because when we're still looking for power outside of ourselves, that's when we fall and we can be utilized by dark forces. And as there is light, there is dark, because everything is teaching us. There is no good or bad, but everything is teaching you. So when you study the laws of the universe, which is actually the first chapter in my book, 12 Seeds to Awaken Your Spirit.
And I'd like to show the people, say, me get my copy today, I'll sign and everything.
Oh, yes.
So I'm so excited. And you know what, right? Big up Mikel Amin, because he's got... We've created, it's called the Wahoro House.
Seen it,
And we've got so much beautiful activities and love services going on in there. And one of the love services is we're reading through the Sacred Women. And as you know, a collective, and we've got the whole space on a Monday evening, etc. That's just one. There's something going on every day. There's like 3 things going on every day with everyone's love service, and maybe this could be something that we go through together as well.
Most definitely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're still come back with this,
And I'm happy to support, because there's a lot of resources that go with it, meditation, and that came to me apart from my own healing. But just before I was about to finish my 33rd year, a month before, God said to me, okay, so if I was to take you out and put you on your next path of your journey, what would you have to leave behind for everyone who's here based on what you've learned and what you know. And I was like, okay. And he said, yeah, it needs to be done by your birthday. And literally that was within a month. So
wow. This book?
That whole book.
No way. That's amazing.
It was nuts. It's 490 pages of information, and it's not just information, it's practical. So every single seed is based on different areas of our life that we need to master, and it's based on the understanding that we are the stars. Don't forget, melanin is stardust, but we are the stars that come down to earth and are planted in her fertile grounds. We're nurtured by the elements of fire, earth, air and water and spirit, and that's what helps us to grow back into our understanding that we are God, that we are the stars. So it's to support you on that journey, and it has a mixture of knowledge and information, because I just love knowledge and information, my own personal experiences based on those aspects. It's also got alchemical poems. So one night when I was in Dublin and I was doing my own healing, Tahuti came into me, and I'm a channel and a trance medium. So when the energy of Tahuti came to me, it was about me communicating my pain. And that's where that Keys to the Legacy poem came from, because I was now able to give word to my pain. Because for me, having the consciousness that I didn't connect with all of these experiences like they were mine, but I needed to embody it and truly feel it to be able to heal it. So yeah, about 44 of the poems came on that day. And I just left that at that. And then the rest of the book came together. So it's my gift to the world, because we need a path of understanding and a path of healing. It teaches you about how to understand your shadow and your shadow's purpose. Everything has a purpose. And not only does it just give you the information, there's journal prompts in the end of each section, and meditation as well, so that you can take the work to a deeper level. And when people speak to me about this book, right, and how the book has touched them, because I'm one of those people, I'm a bit like you, once I create something, it's like on to the next thing. But this book is being sold in South America, in Australia. I have people in Japan, all over the world who contact me, and they're like, your book is really helping me. And I really created it for our people, you know, so that they would have a clear pathway to understanding who we are and how to get to the point of really coming to grips with your unique story, because you are the change. We are the change. Our young people are the change. Each one of us.
That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Before we wrap it up, there has to be one more question I ask you. I know this one is a little bit longer than usual, guys, but what needs to be shared had to be shared. Everything in divine timing, everything in divine order. So my question to you, very quickly, if you can let me know, right, so 2020 we know has been an interesting year. 2020, as I said earlier, has been challenging for some and enlightening for some. We have literally, for me personally, I've learned a newer version to myself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, 2020, boy. Who would have thought lockdown and all these things? But on an energy level, I would like to get your take, because we're gonna be a year's done. I want to get your take on what 2021 looks like.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's interesting because to just give a brief synopsis. 2020 itself is all about clear vision, seeing with clarity, and in order for us to see with clarity, all of the illusions have to be dispelled, and that's what you're kind of seeing happening this year. Interestingly enough as well, before the virus happened, I was in Trinidad just doing some spiritual rituals to clear some ancestral lineage in my family, and there was an ancestor that came through called Babalu Aye, who is also Shakpana in Orisha, and he was the one that was just dancing around and showing me everything has to get sick in order to get better. And I thought he was just talking about my family.
Right.
He wasn't. He was talking about the world. So what's happened is we've become aware of the sicknesses within ourselves. We've become aware of the things that are in us that no longer serve us, and we are being encouraged to step into a new version of self. When people are looking for or asking me when is it going to get back to normal, it's not going to be normal. We are going to create the new reality and the new normal. And to be fair, the fact that we're even looking at the past way of living as being normal is a sickness in itself. And we're seeing more of that now. We understand that we've been totally out of balance. So 4 is the number of boundaries, it's the number of the foundation, it's the number of building structures, but it's also what you need to sort out when you start again. 3 is creation, expansion, you know, chaos energy, but 4 is how we now use that energy to focus on where we want to go to. Right. So 2021 is number 5, which is all about expansion and change, right? So we're developing on this foundation and we're looking at how we can create change in our lives. And most people are looking at, you know, when we get to January, that's when we start the new year. No, we start the new year in March, because if you look at nature starts her new cycle in March. So you will find that it'll be pretty much the same for the first part of the year, but what your focus should really be on is what did you learn last year and what is it that you want to create? What changes do you need to bring into your life internally and externally? 5 is also the number of family connections. It's also the number connected to Oshun. So we're getting an opportunity to look at what we are worth, our value, right? A lot of people have been going through lockdown and furlough, and they've been looking at it as if they're being in a place of suffering. That's the Most High calling you to look on the natural talents and gifts that you have, right? We as a people are the only people that weren't able to define our own worth. Our worth was defined by those outside of us. So again, we're getting an opportunity to see where our talents really lie, and there's an opportunity for the worldwide stage to kind of, the table to shift in our favor. And it's not necessarily a color thing, I'll be honest with you, but we do have the most potential because we have that natural power within us of resource. We are the source, right? And we are the resource of the world. We've built all of these foundations. So it's an opportunity for us to develop on what we've learned last year and expand and create change. It's also a time of us coming together as communities. And that doesn't mean that we have to all get together as one. Just working with like-minded beings and starting to develop strategies. Bring your assets together, bring your energies together and move as one, because that's going to be the theme for the age of Aquarius anyway. So next year is about expansion, and it's also about creating your own perception of reality.
Hey.
Ashe.
Listen, so much gems you've dropped, so much you've shared that I didn't even know about you. So thank you for coming down, sharing on Come Chat with Sima.
Yes.
You understand? And as I always say, you know, this is what it's about: community unity. Support is love, love is support in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? And just as much as I'm sharing with you, Amenti, with you, the people, listen, you need to make sure you hit this lady up, because I guess the support and insight that you've given me just through Facebook alone, this ain't even me calling you, and I've called. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, where can people find you? How can people contact you? Where can people purchase your book and all these things?
Cool, thank you. First and foremost, I want to celebrate you and honor you as well, because sometimes we think that we're the ones watching other people and other people are watching us. So I have been tuning into your energy. I love your genuine personality, the way that you bring people together and you just allow your own unique light to shine. So I just want to raise you up and give thanks to you as well for reaching out, for being you. Like I love your little car videos where you're just dancing to the tunes. Then we need that in life, no, for real. So I want to thank you as well for just being that element of love and sunshine that you are.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And where can you find me? Okay, so you can definitely find me on all of the social media. So I have a YouTube channel, Amenti The Awakener. You can find me there. There's lots of meditations, there's lots of channeling. You'll see me in nature, speaking to the ancestors and bringing down these downloads. So I'm there. I'm also on Instagram. I do love my Instagram because I get to share there every day. Facebook, I'm there, but I'm also coming off of that. So, but you can find a lot of my information there as well. My website is amentitheawakenerofficial.co.uk. My email is amentitheawakenerofficial@gmail.com. My book is available, 12 Seeds to Awaken Your Spirit. It's available on Amazon, but if you want a signed copy, and I normally do like a channeled message from the ancestors for you specifically, then you can email me at amentitheawakenerofficial@gmail.com. I'm doing a lot of work at the moment. I'm taking my work to the next level. Most people don't know I'm also a registered celebrant, so I do ceremonies from births to weddings to funerals. I'm also a high priestess as well in African spirituality, and so I'm just here as a beacon of light to help and to support people in their own growth and transformation. And so if you do need anything, if you want to ask me any questions, because I'm always answering questions, you know, just email me at amentitheawakenerofficial.co.uk. No, amentitheawakenerofficial@gmail.com.
gmail.com.
That's it.
Oh, thank you so much. Guys, make sure you subscribe, like, leave a comment, and share. We need to get this message out. We need to share it. And yeah, until next time, peace. Have to subscribe, turn on your notification bell, tell a friend to tell a friend, share it, like it, and all of these things. Follow the links below, and until next time, peace and blessings to you.